One night, Ethan notices the alien queen observing him quietly from a distance during a royal ceremony. She smiles mysteriously, but no one else sees it. He experiences unusual feelings, fear, curiosity, and something he cannot name about her presence. Ethan writes in his diary about his growing fascination with her. He accidentally leaves the diary open in his quarters. Lyra, the alien queen, finds the diary. Instead of anger, she is intrigued. She whispers to herself in her alien tongue, "He dared to write about me, interesting." Suspense moment, she disappears before anyone else notices, hinting she will confront him personally. Welcome to my channel Sci-Fi Love Story. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. The distant hum of the spaceship's engines faded into the silence of the alien planet below. Captain Ethan Hale stepped out onto the observation deck, his boots crunching lightly against the metallic floor. From this height, the alien city shimmered under the pale glow of the twin moons. Towering spires reached into the sky, and streams of light glowed faintly along the streets. The inhabitants moved with a grace he had never seen before, tall, ethereal figures with luminous skin and eyes that seemed to hold centuries of knowledge. Ethan had been stationed on VIRELIA 7 for nearly 6 months. His mission was simple, or so it seemed: observe, record, and maintain peace between humans and the Varalian species. But there was one problem. The alien Queen Lyra. No one in the human team had ever spoken to her directly. She was an enigma, both terrifying and mesmerizing. Her presence could command silence in a room filled with hundreds. And yet, every time Ethan caught sight of her, his thoughts betrayed him. She was beautiful, undeniably so, but there was something in the way she moved, a kind of silent power that made every other living being around her seem ordinary. Ethan had tried to ignore his fascination, but he couldn't. That was why he kept a diary. Every observation, every emotion, every stolen glance was recorded in the safety of its pages. Tonight, he sat alone in his quarters, the only light coming from the soft green glow of the console. The diary lay open on the desk, and he hesitated before writing. She walked through the council chamber today, her presence alone commanded the room. I tried not to stare, but I couldn't help it. Her eyes, so intelligent, so calculating, they made me feel small. And yet, I want to know her. A faint shiver ran down his spine as he closed the diary. He knew if anyone found it, the consequences would be severe. The Varalians valued privacy, yes, but they valued respect more. Reading about the Queen's body, thoughts, or habits, even in private, was risky. And yet, the thrill of writing it down made him feel alive in a way he hadn't felt in months. Outside, the corridors of the palace were quiet. Or so he thought. From the corner of his eye, Ethan saw a shadow move. He froze, heart hammering. No one should be here this late. Ethan Hale, a soft voice echoed behind him. He spun around. It was Lyra, the alien queen. She stood at the doorway, her form illuminated by the pale green light. Her eyes, vivid, unblinking, looked directly into his. There was no anger there, not yet. Only curiosity. You write often, she said, her voice melodic but commanding. I've seen you scribbling. Ethan swallowed hard, unsure if he should speak or remain silent. His mind raced. How much had she seen? How much did she know? I just... Observations, ma'am, he stammered. For the mission. Reports. Lyra stepped closer, the faint hum of her presence filling the room. Observations, she repeated softly. About whom? Ethan's throat went dry. He knew he couldn't lie entirely, but admitting his thoughts would be dangerous. About the Varalians, their customs, their habits. Her gaze lingered on him, piercing yet not cruel. Curiosity is human, she said. But you must be careful. Curiosity in private can be dangerous when it involves someone like me. Ethan nodded, too stunned to speak further. She turned and left, her footsteps echoing down the hallway, leaving a trace of cold elegance behind. That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he imagined her standing there, watching him, reading his thoughts. He knew that tonight, his diary might have betrayed him. He wondered if she would confront him, or if she already had. Days passed, but the tension remained. He tried to act normal during council meetings, maintaining professionalism as if nothing had happened. Yet, every glance from Lyra was unsettling. She seemed to be observing him, not just watching, but studying him. And he knew she must have read his diary. The suspense built slowly. At first, it was small things. A shadow in the hallway, a feeling of being watched while writing, a subtle smile from the Queen when their eyes met. Then it escalated. Ethan discovered his diary was missing from his quarters one morning. Panic set in. He searched every corner, but it was gone. The only thing left behind was a single white feather, an unusual thing for a Varalian whose biology didn't include feathers. He remembered the way Lyra's eyes had followed him that day. Could it be? Had she taken the diary? That night, the whispers started. Faint at first, like wind brushing against the walls. Ethan thought he imagined them until he heard it clearly. You wrote about me. Tonight, you will come to my room. The words made his heart race. Part of him wanted to flee, to hide. Another part, curiosity, excitement, even fear mixed into a dangerous cocktail. What did she mean? Was he in danger, or was this something else entirely? He spent the night pacing. Every creak of the palace, every flutter of shadow made him jump. The hours stretched endlessly. By the time the twin moons reached their zenith, he knew he could not avoid the inevitable. Finally, driven by a mix of fear and fascination, Ethan prepared himself. He ensured his communicator was off and checked the sidearm at his belt, not because he expected to use it, but because he needed something to anchor his courage. Slowly, he left his quarters and made his way through the winding halls of the palace. The palace was alive with subtle dangers. He noticed small tripwires, invisible sensors, and silent guardians that could detect the slightest movement. Yet, no one stopped him. It was as if the palace itself was allowing him passage. And then, he reached her chamber. The door was massive, carved with intricate alien symbols that glowed faintly. Ethan's hand trembled as he pressed the access panel. The door slid open silently. Inside, the room was unlike anything he had imagined. Soft, ambient lights highlighted the elegant curves of alien architecture. A faint mist hovered over the floor, giving the entire space an ethereal quality. And there she was, Lyra, standing in the center, her gaze fixed on him. You came, she said softly, a hint of amusement in her tone. Good, I wanted to meet the human who dares to write about me. Ethan swallowed, unable to speak. His curiosity had led him here, and now there was no turning back. Lyra stepped closer. Do not be afraid, she said. I am not here to punish you, yet. I want to understand why. Why a human dares to see me not just as a queen, but as something more. Ethan finally found his voice, shaky but honest. I don't know, I wanted to understand you. Not just your strength, or your power, but, you. Who you really are. Lyra studied him silently. Then, for the first time, she smiled, not a formal, distant smile, but one that carried curiosity, amusement, and something unspoken that Ethan could not yet comprehend. You are bold, she whispered, and foolish, but perhaps, you are also honest. That is rare in humans. Ethan's heart pounded. He had survived this first encounter, but he knew it was only the beginning. Something had changed between them. A quiet tension filled the room, a dangerous yet magnetic energy that neither could ignore. The story ended for now, leaving Ethan standing in the Queen's chamber, aware that the events of tonight would change everything. He had stepped into her world, and now, there was no turning back. The corridors of the Varalian palace were silent, almost impossibly so. Captain Ethan Hale moved cautiously, his boots making the faintest sound on the polished floor. Every instinct screamed at him to turn back, to hide in the shadows, yet a deeper curiosity compelled him forward. He could still hear Lyra's voice echoing in his mind. Tonight, you will come to my room. Ethan had spent the night pacing, reviewing every scenario, every possible danger. The Varalians were not cruel without reason, but their methods of discipline were precise and terrifying. One misstep, and he could disappear without a trace, lost in a palace where shadows and secrets were as alive as the beings who roamed it. Yet, as he approached the towering door of the Queen's chambers, his fear mingled with a strange thrill. He had to know. He had to understand why the Queen had singled him out. The door opened before he even touched it, as if expecting him. Soft, ambient light spilled into the corridor, casting his elongated shadow across the polished floor. Inside, the room was vast and otherworldly, filled with alien structures that seemed to pulse gently, alive in some mysterious way. And there she was, Lyra, the Alien Queen, standing in the center, calm, regal, yet impossibly human in her expressions. You came, she said again, her voice softer this time, almost a whisper. I wondered if you would. Ethan swallowed, his throat dry. I had to, he said honestly. I needed to understand. Why? Lyra's eyes narrowed, not in anger, but in scrutiny. Curiosity, courage, or foolishness? She asked, stepping closer. The air between them seemed charged, alive with tension. Humans are unpredictable. I wonder, which one are you? I don't know, Ethan admitted. All three, maybe. I wanted to know you, not as a queen, but as you. For a long moment, Lyra studied him in silence. Then she moved with a grace that seemed almost liquid, circling him slowly. You wrote about me, she said, voice low, almost musical. Not in a report, not in duty, but in your private thoughts. Bold, isn't it? Ethan's heart pounded. Yes, but I meant no disrespect. Lyra raised a hand, cutting him off. I am not angry, she said. Anger would be easy. I could punish you, or worse. But I am curious. Most humans hide behind fear or lies. You did not. The words struck Ethan in a way he hadn't expected. He had prepared for anger, perhaps a trap, maybe even death. But curiosity, intrigue, the Queen's reaction defied every prediction he had made about this species. You dare to observe me so closely, she continued, yet you are not a spy, not a servant, not even a fool completely. You are honest, rare among humans, rare among anyone. Ethan took a careful step forward, heart hammering. I only wanted to understand your strength, your life, your everything. Not to write about you as an object, but as someone extraordinary. Lyra's eyes softened slightly, but the intensity remained. Extraordinary, she repeated, almost as if tasting the word. Then she gestured for him to sit on a low platform near the center of the room. Hesitant but compelled, Ethan obeyed. Humans are fascinating creatures, she said, circling him again. Your species experiences so many emotions at once: fear, curiosity, desire, hope. It is messy, unpredictable, and yet, I find it compelling. I wondered, in my solitude, what it would be like to meet one who dares to see me as I truly am. Ethan's mind raced. You're lonely? He asked cautiously. Lyra paused, her gaze distant for a moment. Lonely, she admitted softly. Even a queen, even one who commands armies, lives surrounded by people who obey, not who understand. To be seen, truly seen, is rarer than any jewel in my treasury. The admission stunned Ethan. He had expected power, perfection, perhaps even arrogance, but not vulnerability. It made her real. It made her human, in a way no human could ever be. I didn't mean to intrude, he said quietly, leaning forward slightly. I couldn't help but write. I wanted to know you beyond the title, beyond the palace walls. Lyra smiled faintly. It was the first time she had smiled in a way that did not command respect but invited intimacy. And so you did. You wrote, and I read. Most would burn if I did this. Most would be afraid. I was afraid, Ethan admitted. Terrified. But it was worth it. To understand you. The Queen's gaze softened, and she stepped even closer. Humans are dangerous, she said, voice low, almost a warning. Yet you intrigue me more than any danger. You are honest, brave, and foolish, a combination I cannot ignore. A subtle pause filled the room, charged with tension. Ethan felt the air thick around him, every nerve on edge. He could see the faint glow of her skin, the way her eyes reflected the alien light. And he knew this was a moment he would remember for the rest of his life. You must understand, Lyra continued, her voice gentle now, almost confiding, that I am not like your human leaders. I cannot offer friendship lightly, nor trust easily. But there is something in you, something different. Ethan nodded, unsure what to say. Every word he might choose could be wrong. Yet he wanted her to know his truth. I don't want anything from you. Not power, not secrets. I just want to understand, to see you for who you are, and maybe, to be trusted in return. For a long moment, Lyra studied him, as if reading the depths of his mind. Then she laughed softly, a sound that made the room tremble slightly. Trust, she said, is a dangerous thing. You are either foolish, or a human worthy of testing. Ethan's heart raced. I'll accept either, he said quietly, surprising himself. I want to learn, I want to understand, and I'll accept the risk. Lyra's eyes glimmered with an emotion he could not name. She circled him once more and then stepped back. Very well, she said. Tonight, you have survived. But this is only the beginning. The human who dares to write about me will face trials, revelations, and choices that could change everything, for both our worlds. Ethan swallowed hard. I don't understand. Trials, choices, she smiled faintly, almost enigmatically. All in good time, Captain. For now, you have seen me as I am. And I have seen you. That is a rare gift. Ethan rose slowly, knowing the meeting was ending. Yet the room still pulsed with the quiet energy of unspoken words, of possibilities and dangers. He knew that tonight had changed him. He had stepped into a world he did not fully understand, and yet, he had survived. Remember, Lyra said, her voice echoing softly as he reached the doorway, I am not your enemy, not yet. But curiosity has a cost, human. Are you ready to pay it? Ethan paused at the door, heart hammering. I think I am, he said, though uncertainty lingered like a shadow. The Queen nodded, almost imperceptibly, and the door closed silently behind him. Alone in the corridor, Ethan exhaled slowly, realizing that his life, and the fate of his species, might never be the same again. As he walked back to his quarters, the hum of the palace seemed different now. Alive in a new way. And in his mind echoed the Queen's words, the human who dared to write about me will come to know the truth. Ethan did not yet know what that truth was, but he felt a strange exhilaration. Danger, intrigue, fascination, and something deeper, perhaps even connection, awaited him. And for the first time in his life, he felt that curiosity, bravery, and honesty were enough to face it. The story ended, for now, with Ethan standing at the threshold of a new reality. The Queen had shown him a glimpse into her world, but the full truth remained hidden, waiting for the human brave enough to seek it.